In the mid-1800s, a ship was born that was destined to become a legend, not just for its remarkable engineering, but for the eerie, tragic history that would soon cling to it like a shadow. The SS Great Eastern, the largest ship ever built at the time, was designed with grandeur in mind, capable of carrying thousands of passengers across the seas in unparalleled comfort. But beneath its towering mass and innovative design, a darker force stirred. The ship's voyage would not be marked by triumph and progress alone but would soon become entwined with ghostly tales, unexplained occurrences, and eerie whispers that still echo through the halls of the ship, even in death. The Great Eastern's maiden voyage was anything but auspicious. While the ship was celebrated for its technological marvels, its size, its ability to carry both passengers and cargo, its iron hull that was far sturdier than any ship before it, its journey was plagued with misfortune. There were accidents from the outset, but the most chilling was the explosion that claimed the lives of several crew members before the ship even made it to sea. Those deaths, tragic as they were, became the foundation of a curse that would haunt the ship's every voyage. As the ship made its way across the Atlantic, strange things began to happen. Crew members reported hearing faint whispers in the hallways, soft voices that seemed to come from nowhere at all. Some thought it was nothing more than the creaking of the ship, the sounds of its vast hull stretching and groaning as it battled against the waves. But others knew better. They claimed to hear something far more sinister, voices calling out in pain, voices belonging to those who had perished on that fateful voyage. As the months passed, the legend surrounding the SS Great Eastern grew. Eyewitness accounts multiplied. A sailor claimed that one night, while walking the deck under a pale moon, he saw the figure of a captain standing by the ship's wheel. His face was stern, his eyes empty, and his uniform tattered. The sailor approached, but as he did, the captain turned toward him, revealing a face that seemed to be both living and dead, decaying skin, hollow eyes, and lips that whispered a warning before vanishing into the night. Another sailor, working below deck, would tell of strange lights flickering in the lower levels of the ship, lights that seemed to move on their own, guiding him toward a darkened corridor he had never seen before. The deeper he ventured, the colder the air became, until it felt as though he had entered a place beyond the living. He said the temperature dropped sharply, and in the flickering light, he saw the silhouette of a man who should have been long gone. The figure moved toward him, silent and deliberate, but when the sailor tried to speak, his voice was swallowed by the oppressive silence. When he turned to run, the corridor stretched endlessly before him, trapping him in a nightmare of his own making. But perhaps the most disturbing story of all was that of a young cabin boy, who had been new to the ship, eager for adventure but unaware of the terror that awaited him. One evening, while alone in his quarters, the boy reported hearing the sound of footsteps coming from the hallway outside his door. At first, he thought it was just another crew member, but as the footsteps grew louder and closer, he realized that no one was there. The door opened on its own, and a cold wind swept into the room. It was then that he saw her, the ghostly figure of a woman in tattered clothes, her face twisted in an agonizing expression. She reached toward him with a skeletal hand, and as she touched his face, he felt a coldness that seeped into his very bones. He ran from his room, but no matter where he went on the ship, the figure followed him, haunting his every step until he was driven mad. As the years went by, the stories only grew in intensity. Passengers aboard the Great Eastern would speak in hushed tones about the unexplained phenomena they witnessed during their journeys. Some claimed to have seen figures on the deck, staring out at the sea, their faces obscured by fog. Others reported hearing the sounds of distant crying, coming from the lower decks, where no one had been for years. And then there were the eerie reports from the ship's officers, tales of a strange figure that seemed to stand on the bow at night, staring into the abyss, its eyes empty and unblinking. No one could explain who, or what, it was. It was as if the very soul of the ship was consumed by something malevolent. Despite its haunted reputation, the ship continued to sail for many years. But with every voyage, it became more and more apparent that the Great Eastern was not just a marvel of engineering, it was a cursed vessel. The spirits of the dead, those who had perished on her maiden voyage, those who had lost their lives in tragic accidents, and those whose lives had been cut short by some unseen force, all seemed to have become part of the ship's very essence. It was as if the Great Eastern had become a place where the living and the dead coexisted, each unable to leave, each bound to the ship for eternity. One of the most chilling aspects of the haunting was the overwhelming sense of dread that seemed to follow anyone who stepped aboard. The crew members who had once been excited to work aboard the world's largest ship soon grew weary of the strange occurrences that plagued them. Many began to refuse their shifts, too terrified to venture below deck or walk the long, empty hallways. Some even claimed to have seen the shadowy figure of a man standing in the doorway of the captain's quarters, a figure that appeared only when the ship was at its most isolated, when the crew was most vulnerable. As the years passed and the ship's voyages became less frequent, the stories of the SS Great Eastern faded into the background of maritime history. But the legends remained, clinging to the ship like the ghosts that haunted her hulls. The ship was eventually abandoned, and though it never sailed again, its ghostly presence still lingered in the minds of those who had heard the tales and felt the chill that came with the ship's name. The SS Great Eastern had become a legend, not just for its remarkable size and its place in history, but for the spirits that it had carried with it. And so, the story of the SS Great Eastern remains a haunting mystery, a tale of a ship that was both a marvel of human engineering and a vessel of the supernatural. As the waves crash against the hull of any modern ship, one can almost hear the whispers of those long gone, forever tethered to the ship that was doomed from the start. The SS Great Eastern's legacy is one of both innovation and tragedy, a ghost ship that will never truly rest. If you've ever found yourself captivated by tales of haunted ships or unexplained phenomena, the SS Great Eastern is just one of many eerie stories that continue to haunt the seas. Share your own ghost stories with us in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more chilling maritime mysteries.